What is up, everyone? Hey, this is a big one that we got going on today. All right, Jeffrey, I see you in the chat here. If you guys saw the title, saw the thumbnail a little bit, we got a little bit of a legend in the community. If I don't want to brag on him a little bit too much here, but if you guys know who he is, you've been watching along with the Thunder for a while now. You know exactly who this guy is. He doesn't really need an introduction. All right, we got Lost and for a stream today. Go ahead, say what's up. If people don't know you for some reason, just do a quick little introduction of who you are, how long you've been doing this, and everything. All right.
Yeah, I appreciate it, Bryson. What's good, everybody? It's your boy LostNUnbound. I'm a Thunder fan, I mean, this is a Thunder channel, so I'm gonna start with that. I've been a Thunder fan since '09, '08, '09, whatever it was the first year they
Pretty much
became
when
the
they
Thunder.
relocated. Yeah.
Yeah, no, literally that first season, I didn't have a favorite team. I just like my brother was a Lakers fan. I just liked basketball, but they were so people don't remember they were actually bad for one year. They had like 20 something wins the first season. I don't know, 24, 27.
It wasn't a
Um,
fun season. I do remember that. It wasn't fun.
but they made me fall in love with the team. Westbrook and KD were electric. They were electric. I love watching them. So I'm a Thunder fan. I've been a fan since '09, '08, whenever that season was. I've been doing YouTube since 2013, so it's been about 12 years now. And yeah, that's just me. I love basketball. I like talking about basketball, and that's about it.
Yeah. I remember because that's like I think I was 5 or 6 when they relocated, and I wasn't following along with basketball by then. I was worried about picking my boogers on the playground a little bit at that time. But I do remember 2010, 2011 was when I really started getting into sports, basketball, MLB, everything out there, and falling along with the Thunder having Russ, KD, and Harden like the best young trio in the world at that moment really made me fall in love with the Thunder right there, and been following along like you said, pretty much as soon as they relocated here. But for you guys that don't know what we're gonna be talking about today, pretty much be talking about the future, like the future projections for this team. They are one of two that have secured a playoff spot here already in the NBA season. And we still have 18, 17 games left, which is absurd to kind of see and look at there. And so talk about, okay, who do they not want to see first round of the playoffs there? Who are players that really kind of, push this team forward into potentially having the best record that the franchise has ever seen? And I don't want to kind of jinx it. They're still on pace for 70 wins if they want to. They'd have to win them all out. I think it's realistic with what the team has built around here and with the, being somewhat healthy. But it's still going to be very hard to do if they want to pull it out here. Still could get easily 65 wins. And then also, not dive deep into it, but just talk about the draft picks that the team does have here coming up. That Sixers pick, it could convert, could not. It's kind of hard to tell right now. The draft is very, kind of tricky there. Clippers could end up getting that pick as well, as they've fallen off a little bit and they might fall in the play in and not make the playoffs now. So just a little bit of stuff like that. But like I mentioned, the first thing I want to talk about, and it's still been a storyline that people want to talk about here, is the additions the team had of Caruso and Hartenstein. But there's also been other players that have stepped up, like Aaron Wiggins. Isaiah Joe has stepped up in games as well. Cason Wallace, when he does play, when he hasn't been injured, I feel like Alex Caruso being on this team has really mentored him and pushed him to be a star guard. I'm curious who, like, you think is the key difference maker, and like, okay, this is why the Thunder are currently at 50 something wins right now, and why they're going to eventually make the finals and hopefully win it all this season.
It's definitely a combination, like it's like there's not just one guy. These guys work as a unit, and I think it's really intentional. There's a lot of teams where there is that one guy that's made a big difference. But Mark, I don't know how to say his last name properly, but our coach, he's made a strong effort to have this team gel. When he adds a piece in, he doesn't just add a random player. He makes sure they fit the culture. So when that lineup's out there, you really see five guys. You really see a squad that's working together. But I mean, Dort has been incredible. Lou Dort's one of my I so especially on YouTube when you talk players, everyone's focused on offense. Everyone's talking about scoring, and I love defense. I'm in love with defense, and Lou Dort is just a ridiculous defender. He reminds me a little bit back when we had Roberson, Andre
Yes.
Roberson, those 2016 years. But Lou Dort can shoot. He learned how to shoot. And it's incredible. They literally went from leaving this guy open sometimes to becoming a 40% three-point shooter, which is insanely impressive. So I think he's the key, one of the key guys. In terms of additions, I think Hartenstein was the biggest out of all of them, Hartenstein, Caruso. Um, but like I said, they all gel. Hartenstein, the problem before him was when Holmgren was out, we were screwed. Not screwed for the regular season, but like in the playoffs, if Holmgren's missing a
Yeah.
game, if we don't have a center, that's a problem. Even if Holmgren's playing, I'm not as big of a fan of having them both on the court at the same time, but having at least one of them on the court is huge. Having Hartenstein, if you really need to body someone up, throw Hartenstein out there. Holmgren, if you need some more scoring opportunities, throw him out there. Even Hartenstein's offense has been really good. When Hartenstein came to the team, I was super excited because he was a guy who averaged like 8 points, 8 rebounds, whatever, nothing crazy. But when you look at his advanced stats, when you look how efficient he was, you could tell if you just gave this guy minutes, like if you just gave him 36 minutes, right? Like his numbers would be outrageous. So I had a good feeling about him. And Caruso, um, I like what you said about him and Cason Wallace. I really think he is like the best person for Cason Wallace to be around. Just a ridiculously elite defender, high IQ defender. Caruso, there's a difference between being an elite defender like Jimmy Butler and when defense is your thing, like Caruso. When defense is what makes you really in the NBA. And I think that's so good for Cason Wallace. So when we have guys like Cason Wallace, Caruso, Dort, who are elite defenders, Hartenstein, a very good defender, I think that's really what's made this team separate from the rest. And on, that's what you don't see so much talked about on mainstream. Because like I said, people care about the scoring, but our it's number one in the league. It's number one in the league by a margin, I'm pretty sure.
I think right now when
Um,
you look at defensive rating as well, it's number one in history.
Yeah, I saw that. I wasn't sure if it was true. That's why I didn't say it. But yeah, I saw that. So you have to look at that, and I'm sure we'll talk at some point later about Jokic, and if you want to talk about the MVP race, but
We
just a
can do that
little,
later. Yeah.
but just when people talk about that, it's like, bro, imagine Jokic on the Thunder. The way we run our rotation, it'd be a disaster. Like
Yeah, it would not work.
he would be a complete weak. When you watch the Thunder against Boston the way they're switching, everyone can guard. Yeah, some better than others, but everyone can guard. SGA is a very solid defender. He's not someone that just he averages three. I think they call it stocks, steals and blocks
Yeah,
a game.
stocks. Yeah.
But yeah, steals and blocks. He averages three, I believe, and but even Jokic averages close to three, so that doesn't necessarily mean you're a great defender. But do I want SGA on Steph when I can have Dort on Steph? No, I'd rather have Dort on
No.
Steph. But can SGA hold his own? Yes. And he's 6'6", I believe. So
He's
if
got
you
some size
swap
to him.
him,
He can guard 1 through 3 for sure.
and especially in the playoffs, like when you have one guy that can't play defense, they're gonna get targeted. Jokic is gonna get targeted.
I think we saw
You
that
can't.
last year as well in the playoffs, and I don't want to talk bad about Josh whatsoever, as I think he has all-star potential in the league. But I think Presti clearly saw like, hey, we need better defenders and shooters here, especially all times on the court. And he just unfortunately didn't fit that system anymore, and that's why that Caruso pickup might be. It could go down as the best in franchise history if the team wins a championship this year.
You said the what in franchise
The
history?
best move in franchise history.
Hartenstein.
No, no, Caruso,
Oh,
Caruso.
Caruso. Oh, I mean, it depends. I mean, the best move in franchise history. It'd be. I mean, I don't know if I would call it the best, but it depends how he balls out in the playoffs. If he's
It
just
depends.
if he's clearly the needle mover, maybe. So you like the Caruso move more
I
than
like the
the
Caruso
Hartenstein
move.
move.
Uh, I don't want to say more. It's kind of like what you said. It's all kind of like mesh and gel together All right, it's a mixture of everyone on the team. Like everyone has their role. Everyone plays up to their potential when they're called upon. I think that pairing of Caruso and Hartenstein, though, it's a little bit of veteran leadership along with some guys that are going to hustle and, get the stats that don't show up in, the box score whatsoever, like diving for loose balls there, off ball screens to open up shooters, those kinds of things. They don't show up in the box score, but they do them all so well. Caruso, he has this, I just wrote an article about it, this like false narrative, like of being constantly injured. He gets injured for 1 or 2 games because of how physical he likes to play. And there are times he needs to tone it down. But by playoffs, you're not going to see him be, rest out for a bruised hip. You're not going to see him rest for that. He'll play through it and he'll still give you a solid 6 points, 3 rebounds, and a steal and block off the bench because of how he plays. And it'll be just fine. So I think it's just injury narrative of Caruso surrounding him right now that people are like, oh, sometimes they're like, it's a bad move. Why do we ever trade, Josh for him? And, it's also right now, considering Josh was playing very well before he got injured. I just think Caruso really set the standard of this is what kind of team we're going to be this season. We're going to play hard defense. We're going to hustle for every loose ball. And like I mentioned earlier, you're seeing it with other players. Cason Wallace, he looks like a completely different player than he did last season. And it also helps that he had a year to develop now. He's developed a little bit sophomore season. Of course, he's going to be better. But when you have one of the best perimeter defenders, one of the best 3-and-D players in the league on your team, mentoring one of the best 3-and-D young guys in the league, the sky is the limit for him. And so I think Caruso really opened up this team for, defense wise and how they're going to play. I like that how you mentioned Dort. I think he's become a great scorer. I think people don't talk about that enough. There are 7 players in Thunder franchise history that have scored 40 plus points in a game, and Lou Dort is one of those. It's one of those weird things where it's like you look at it and he has become a great shooter. He drives to the basket very well. His handle's gotten a little bit better, and his passing has as well. At some points, it looks like he is the third option on this team, even when Chet and J Dub play, because of how good of a 3-point shooter he is.
And he's confident. Like when he shoots, like he's a confident 3-point shooter. It doesn't look like just I don't know. I mean, there's a level of confidence you get at some point when you're an elite 3-point scorer. Like Cason Wallace, he's a solid 3-point scorer, but like I don't see the same confidence yet in him. Lou Dort, he'll take it a
He
couple
doesn't
extra feet
care.
deeper
He'll throw up a
sometimes.
rainbow three.
Yeah, oh, his every time he shoots those, I'm just like, oh, okay. And then like, his mid-range game's gotten better. He takes some middies that I used to not love earlier when I would watch. I'd be like, oh, it's not really the highest percentage look, but now
Yeah.
he's starting to hit it better. Um, but yeah, I agree with what you said about Caruso. I think that Giddey trade was perfect. I think Giddey is more what, a team like the Bulls who don't have that guy. You need someone that's going to get 15, 8, and 7 or something like that.
Yeah.
But he didn't, I mean, I don't know how much it is that if he didn't fit, but he definitely didn't fit as much as Caruso. Caruso is the perfect fit for us.
He was exactly what the team needed. And I think the reason, Giddey just didn't fit anymore was because of how well Shai was playing and how well Dub played that second season. No, I don't
Mm,
think anyone was expecting Dub to come out and be in his third season an all-star player. I don't think
right.
anyone expected that in the draft. I didn't expect it when they originally drafted him. I was like, he'll be a solid option, solid third or fourth scoring option at times. I was like, yes, this is great. But the fact that he's now an all-star as well and all defensive player, when you look at how he plays defense on the court, he doesn't get the flashy stats, but if you watch the Thunder play, you can tell he is probably he's the team's third best defender, I would say. And so I just think his rise, Shea becoming an MVP level candidate, and the offense running through him now, it just limited Giddey with what he could do. He's more of a traditional point guard of, okay, I need the ball and I need to start the offense. And Shea was the guy starting the offense all the time for OKC. And it's just one of those things where Josh, unfortunately, was left out of place. He was the odd man out.
Yeah, like you said, Shea needs the ball in his hands. Shea cannot be, he can't be an off-ball guy. I mean, he
No.
can be, but that's not how you use him. Shea needs the ball, And Giddey, like the only way Giddey would have worked really is being a second unit, the point guard.
And I
But
would have
even
loved that.
then, it wouldn't have been bad. Giddey wasn't like a complete sore spot. It just looked bad because of the threes in the playoffs
Yes.
last year. But we could have made it work. But he could have been that, off the bench that when Shay's out or when really running the point. But yeah, Caruso is the better fit. Caruso struggled early with threes. That was just a little scary for a little bit for me.
It
But
was.
uh but he figured it out. I mean, I wasn't too worried because he has a career of, hitting threes. He has
Yeah.
some, really, he has some seasons with great percentages. He just didn't look comfortable on some of the threes. That's why I was a little worried. But once he started knocking down threes, like, oh, he's gonna be filthy.
Yeah,
He's the
he was gonna be
guy.
fine.
He's good in high, he can be good in high pressure. He played with the Lakers. Like he's going to be ready for the bright lights. And that's what it comes down to. Like, everything comes down to the playoffs. Like when you were talking about his injuries. When I think about injuries, now if you're a team like the Mavericks, who you're not really making and really any team, I mean, in like you're really fighting for playoff seeding, yeah, you have to be available. But I'm
Yes.
talking about top three teams in a conference. I'm not worried about Caruso missing a
No.
game here. It doesn't matter. It does not matter. Because like you said, for some brutes or whatever, he'll play through it in the playoffs. What you're worried about is stuff like Porzingis, like those injuries
Yes.
where a guy might miss a whole series and that could have cost them a title. And was it? I think I don't know if it was against the Pacers or something, or whatever series Porzingis was out, they started struggling and almost lost a series that should have been a gimme. I mean, they didn't almost lose, but a lot of games were close. But my point is, Caruso, we can rely on him in the playoffs, and that's what you need. You need a playoff lineup. You need a playoff lineup, and I think we have that. I think we got
I think we do.
lockdown defenders. We got a team that they got so much experience in this past year. They were the young team, new team last year. Okay, they got that out of their system. I love everything about the squad, and I think we're just going to be dominant in the playoffs.
No doubt. I like how you brought up playoff roster as well. This team can go 12 deep on a nightly basis is a crazy thing to look at. The fact that Kenrich Williams isn't going to play all that much in the playoffs, and he's a great defender, decent offensive player as well. A lot of teams would love to have him as their sixth or seventh man. The fact that he is rarely going to get time in the playoffs, if any at all, because you're not going to go 12 deep in the playoffs. You're going to go 9, 8 deep at times. Some you might go 10 depending on what the lead is and some guys in foul trouble, but realistically, it's 8, 9 guys deep. All 8 to 9 of those guys are starters on half the teams in the league. That's the crazy thing. Isaiah Joe is a starter on half the teams in the league. Aaron Wiggins, he might be a starter for almost every team besides like 5 in the league. Alex Caruso would be a starter on majority of teams in the league. And if Hartenstein's coming off the bench or starting, he'd be a starter on majority of teams in the league. Like that's the crazy thing is it's not like OKC has 3 guys who are for sure starters on every single team and are those guys. It's 8 to 9 guys who are truly like, okay, this is what they got right here. These guys are starters. They have true potential in the NBA and can go out there and change the course of what a franchise is going to do between second round exit or making the finals. The Thunder have all those guys on their team.
Well, the Thunder, yeah, I agree because the Thunder it's no accident. They've been built that way. They
Yep.
have been built to be a deep team. They've been built for each player to fit in, not to be an odd one out in a rotation. They've been carefully selected, carefully developed. Like the unison they have as a squad off the court. Like if there was some guy super talented to draft or to trade for or to sign that would mess that up, Presti wouldn't do that. And I'm sure
No.
there's been opportunities. So it's been very intentional. I just talked about this recently with someone, but like the NBA is changing we went from who's that big signing, who's that big player we're going to get, the LeBron, the KD, and that era is
Yes.
phasing out. A big reason is the Supermax contract. Now there's a reason for teams for superstars to stay on the same squad. But now when you're the Thunder and you can kind of you're most likely going to keep Shea because of the supermax or maybe other, I'm sure other reasons too. You can build around him. You can super long, we drafted a player with I believe it was a torn ACL because we know we don't need him this year. I mean, we would like him, but like we can wait because he might be a top 5 pick that year if he didn't
Well,
have his torn ACL.
I saw something when the pick originally happened. I saw that he had a torn ACL. I was I was livid. I'm not gonna hide it. I was upset. I was thinking to myself like, Presti, this is the worst move you've ever made in your tenure, right here, drafting a guy who can't even play this year. And then I started doing my research into him. He was projected to go number one overall before the injury. The fact that they got him as a steal at number 12 right there. And then they also got AJ Mitchell in the second round, who was playing as a top 10 rookie in the NBA before getting injured and having to have surgery there. Absurd. Like at this point, it's one of those things where it's like, I'm going to trust Presti in the draft. I'm going to trust Presti in trades. He's going to build the perfect team that's going to lead us to the promised land and win something.
Yeah, I'm a solid believer that the Thunder are the best drafters. I mean, it's the Thunder and Spurs really. But
Yep.
yeah, and when you talked about us being like 12 deep, like injuries are gonna happen, and
They will.
they're gonna happen. They're gonna happen to both teams. That's the thing. So in a series with the Celtics, almost any of their main guys go down, like, it's a major hit. Um, Obviously be a hit for us, a big hit for us too, but a guy like Kenrich Williams he can step in. I
Yeah, he
love
can.
Kenrich Williams. Like, you just look at his stats, like, oh, this guy might not be great because you don't see big numbers, but like his percentages are solid. He's a confident three-point shooter. Like when he takes a three, he's confident. Um, I think he had some good minutes in the Celtics game when I was watching him,
He did.
and that was a big moment. That's like you're thrown in, and he played like he looked like he was a starter, like coming out like it was nothing for him. I love that, and so we have a deep squad that can take a hit. We can, we don't want to take a hit, but if we lose J-Dub for a few games in the playoffs, if a Caruso goes down, if Chet goes down or Isaiah, we can fix it. If
Yep.
we can
Easily.
patch it up where these other teams, the Cavs, Jared Allen misses a few games, you might lose a series from that.
Yep.
You're not really built you know, to
To
rotate
outlast.
that properly. So we have a playoff team, we have playoff depth, and I mean we have regular season depth and team too. So I really don't see much weakness at all on this squad. I mean, obviously there's stuff that could be improved, but there's nothing that sticks out to me like, oh, this is something I'm
This is
really
something that
worried
could kill the
about.
team right here.
Yeah, like, Giddey last year or we knew that could have been a possibility with the threes.
Yeah.
Usually teams won't leave you wide open on a regular season game as much unless it was Andre Roberson. But in the playoffs, and then because it's not just one game, because like let's say he goes over 5 one game, the next game he'll probably be back. But it's like, oh, you're in his head now. He's missed in the playoffs. It's like it's a whole new world. A whole new season has started, and then you just leave him open and it messes everything up. I don't have any of those worries with this team. I mean, the only slight worry I have is I didn't love how our rebounding looked sometimes with the Celtics. They were
Yeah.
getting some boards. Luke Cornett's underrated,
I
man.
think some of that is just they are a large team. Like going to like living in Boston, I naturally go to Celtics games, and if they're not playing the Thunder, I'll support them and be like, yeah, why not? Let's go Celtics here. Jason Tatum is 6'10". Jalen Brown's like 6'8", and he's their shooting guard. Derek White has good size to him as well. Luke Cornett off the bench. Kristaps Porzingis. They just have good size. All right, and the Thunder do as well with the addition of Isaiah Hartenstein. After that, you do have a drop off to J Will, who's 6'9", then to J Dub and Shea, who's 6'6". Like you just have a natural drop off in size there. The Celtics are just taller, but I'm not necessarily worried about that because they're going to shoot 63s a game. They'll make 15 to 20 of them, and they won't get to the line. Whereas Oklahoma City, they're going to attack the mid range, and because their defense, there are going to be times they'll force turnovers against a team like the Celtics that like to pass a lot and also take a ton of threes. That I'm not necessarily worried about losing that rebounding battle because I know our defense is going to pick it up in some other form.
Yeah, we could pick it up. It would just be nice if it could be improved,
Yes.
if we didn't, if it was something that we didn't have to pick up. And I'm sure they'll figure it out, because those are like, that's the thing where in a series, the coach, well, I mean, the Celtics have a phenomenal coach, but that's where coaching comes even more because it's not just in-game adjustments, it's series adjustments, series to series. And I think we'll figure that out. I don't think we'll let Luke Cornett bully us a whole series if
No.
we get to the finals. But it's that's something I trust our coach with, like Mark.
I
And some
trust
people
Nick.
could say, well, he didn't, I mean, he's still building this squad. This is still new for him, relatively new, with this team. I mean, as the head coach. But like we are a completely different team than last year.
Yes.
People who don't watch the Thunder, they just like, oh, it's the young guys again. They got the first seed again. Yeah, okay. And Shai's just getting some more free throws this season. Like that's literally what a lot of people who don't watch the Thunder are thinking. But it's like, no, this is a very solid squad. Like Aaron Wiggins, for example, you mentioned. I love Aaron Wiggins.
I
I
love
was
him.
watching his 40-point game. I mean, obviously that's an easy one to pick, but like I was watching that, I was like, oh, this is cool. This how many teams have a guy like that
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 come
just
off the
randomly goes
bench
for
and score 40
40?
points for you. No one.
And I'll come back to the Celtics for a second. You're talking about all the threes they took. So I love how on Twitter so many people were like, "Man, the Celtics took just like it was like a fluke. Like they just took too many threes." I'm like, bro, that's how they play.
That's just how
That's
they play.
their
And they're
and
successful at it. They do it very well.
yeah, that's what got them to this point. That's what got them to being the Celtics right now, to being the number two seed. Um, in my opinion, they're the best team in the East. I'm more worried about them than I am the Cavs. I mean, in a regular season game, the Cavs, but playoffs, I'm more worried about the Celtics. But like, I kind of like that matchup with the Thunder, and it's kind of why I'm not too surprised about the series result. I mean, I'm more surprised on the second game, but um, when you are a three-point shooting team like that, you're used to playing teams. I mean, you're obviously used to playing lesser defenses. If the Thunder are the number one team by a margin, you have to do less to get open
Yes.
on average. Your average play style day to game to game will work better. Where all of a sudden you're up against Dort, Caruso, Cason Wallace, all of a sudden when the threes aren't falling, it's not like, oh, we just had an off night. No, you're up
You just got
against
swarmed on
a better
defense.
defense. You're getting swarmed. Another part of that, they did have some decent looks that they passed out for three, but another part of that, it's harder to get to the rim for a good shot. Like Jalen Brown was locked down. Like Jalen Brown, people were saying that that's not going to happen in the series with the Celtics.
Well, in
Anyone
three halves of
listening,
basketball now against the Thunder, I think he's only scored 12 points.
and like to people listening, the reason the Celtics are a big conversation is that's the finals matchup. If we had to bet on it, like it's going to be the Celtics.
Yep.
It might not be, of course, but like that's who we're worried about. If it's not the Celtics, oh, then it's even better. I'll take any of those teams, honestly, in the playoffs matchup from the East. But yeah, they're gonna have a tough time on the three. Jalen Brown, I don't think will be successful in the series against the Thunder. So
No.
if you just take out Jalen Brown, that's a big thing to take out of your game. He's a big reason. Him attacking the basket, it opens up the threes for the other guys. So these are a lot of details, and people just look at some of the kind of more basic stuff, but well, the Celtics just shot too many threes. They'll shoot less threes next
Well, like
game.
I also like how people also mentioned the free throw differential. Look how many free throws
Yeah.
OKC shot compared to Boston. Like I mentioned, 90, I think they took 96 shots that night. 63 of them were three-pointers. You're not going to get free throws doing that. OKC only took 37. A majority of their shots were inside the paint. You're going to get to the line naturally if you do that. This season hasn't, always correlated to that as they rank, I think, 27th in free throw attempts per game. But
Yeah, we're on the
still,
lower end.
yeah, it was on the lower end. Still, I like how people were complaining about that. They just looked at the box score, saw that stat, and are like, oh, this is why OKC won. OKC is naturally getting these calls when that just hasn't been a thing all season.
So with Shea, when you look at if we go to James Harden, when he had the season where he
Yes.
was just getting a ton of free throws, so a lot of people were kind of bashing him. A lot of players were also like talking on it. Um, that's because like what he was doing was a little different than what Shay's doing. I haven't heard like, and I don't know from analysts, but like NBA player podcasts or tweets or just anything. Anytime Shea comes up, I haven't heard any of them talk about that in a negative light because it's like when they show on like when I see on Twitter like that the Jaylen Brown foul that was going the foul he pulled on Jaylen Brown, everyone's like. Yeah, every star does this. Like everyone's trying to get that
Kobe Bryant was one
contact.
of the best at it.
Yeah, it's just I don't know what this hate for Shea is. I think it's gonna quiet down. Anyone that actually watches basketball and like not just their team, like they're actually watching, the Thunder or other like they know that's part of the game. He's just so good at it. And if these guys weren't fouling, it's not like Shea's bro. When they stopped at some point, the whistle got tight during the Celtics game. And Shea just was like, okay, he just started hitting middies. He just started
Yeah,
hitting tough middies. Like, if you don't foul Shea, there's a reason he's getting fouled. He's ridiculously good at finishing. He is elite's not a good enough word. He's elite at finishing. When you have a great mid-range game, like that little pull-up midi, the post midi, that makes your drives even more dangerous. Because if all you got to worry about is the three or the drive, once someone's driving, it's like, okay, you can kind of, it's coming. When
yeah.
this guy can finish at the rim or, stop and, take a fade or go in the post, and when there's so many ways he can finish at a high efficiency, you're screwed. So you're gonna foul him. Like that's that. So those are earned fouls. Those are like you're so good that they have to foul you because either they don't, you got them or you got them panicking. And so that's different than kind of what James was doing, which even what James was doing, I'm not mad at.
I'm
I'm
not mad
like,
at it either.
listen, if you don't want to call, don't do it. Don't fall for it.
Yeah.
Like when I played, for example, when I play 2K, I'll bully someone with the same thing until they figure out how to stop it.
If
They'll
you're
be like,
going to
man,
hand check, you're naturally going to go up for a jumper there because you have like your hand is on me. I'm going to go up for the jumper right there and get a foul. That's just natural right there.
you gotta, it's but I think it's gonna dwindle off that Shea hate. I think people are like slowly realizing it's not right. I think people are starting to realize, the reason I mentioned Jokic again is because everyone's just talking him and Jokic. People are starting to realize that like, Jokic went up the MVP ladder after losing a game and
Yeah.
people were like, so even like the people that were hating on Shea are starting to be like, okay, hold on. This isn't fair.
Well, another thing I
Um,
saw, Jokic shot 17 free throws last night. No one talked about it.
yeah.
No one. They're like, oh, like they just glossed over that fact right there because he almost got a triple double. That's why. And I love triple doubles. Watch Russell Westbrook, have my Russell Westbrook triple double king shirt when he won MVP that season. I'm a fan of the triple doubles. But the thing is, it doesn't help if it's not winning your team games. Especially like he
Right. Right.
at points it looks like he's so worried about getting that triple double at points. And he also just doesn't play defense. That's why I think Shea should win the MVP over Jokic is the fact, okay, he's clearly a better defender. Shea is probably going to be the only player this season that's on an all NBA team and an all defensive team. And maybe Jaren Jackson Jr., maybe. Like if he gets lucky and gets in there on like all NBA third team, he'll be all defensive first team player. But he might not make all NBA, any all NBA team. Shea will make an all NBA team and should make an all defensive team, and he's in the running for defensive player of the year.
And people, because people just see stat lines, people watch, even when they're watching more offensively usually. Especially if you watch another team. Like if you watch your own team, maybe you care more about defense. But when you're watching another team, you're not really watching the rotations as much. And like, I just wish you could like have an alternate universe with, I mean, listen, I love Jokic, but like with him on the Thunder and just watch one game and Shea on you would just see how the defense would be completely different.
Yes.
Having Shea be like the third best defender in the lineup there when you got Cason out there, Caruso or Dort, whatever the lineup is crazy. Shea would be the best
Yes.
defender in a lot of starting lineups. So Yeah, but you know what? It doesn't matter, honestly. Like Shay's gonna win, I think, unless, God forbid, an injury or something.
Yeah. Even
But
then, even if he gets injured, he still would qualify for the amount of games played.
yeah, he would qualify. That's the only thing I think would make it close. Though, 'cause he's gonna keep doing his thing. He's like the most consistent player in the NBA. But what matters is the playoffs. And I think that conversation will only carry really if we get like knocked out in the first, second
Yes.
round, something like that. But if we make it to the finals or if we win, that's going to dissolve. People are not going to be able to say much at that point.
Yeah. I see you guys' questions in the chat. We'll get to them very shortly. Just one quick thing before we start to get into some questions that people have asked here. We mentioned Jokic and the Nuggets a little bit. I'm curious, top three teams in the playoffs in the West. Who do you like I don't want to say worried, but would have your eye open for like, okay, let's, be a little bit careful around this team because they could easily take a game from us and go in there and potentially knock us out in a second round matchup there. So, who are those three teams that you're kind of looking out for in the West?
So are we talking about teams that can beat us or teams for the first round?
Teams that could beat us. Teams like that you
Teams
just
that could
don't
beat
want to match
us.
up with. Like, I don't want to say don't want to match up with, but if you do match up
Yeah.
against them at any point,
Right.
you're like, okay, let's be on the lookout.
I'll just I'll slip this in there and then I'll get to that. Just for the first round, if we have to face the Warriors or the Timberwolves, that would suck.
Yeah.
Because I mean, I don't think we will because they're both on fire, and I think they'll get 6, 7, 5, somewhere around that. But those would be just ridiculous matchups for round one. And like you said, because even if we beat a team, we don't want it to go 6-6 in round one. We don't want to be tired in the playoffs, in the finals. But teams I'm worried about that could actually beat us. Um, I would say the Lakers, and the thing is, if everything's right, if everyone's healthy, LeBron might be out for the season right now. There's a good chance he doesn't come back. Some people are saying. Um, Now LeBron turns into someone else in the playoffs.
Yes.
If he's healthy, if Luka's healthy, just that LeBron being there, we just lost to Luka last year. Like some of the mental stuff could throw us off, and those are two guys that could win a series if they just go nuclear. I'm still confident we'll beat them, but I'm ev- let's say Rockets and Lakers, right? Let's say the Rockets are fully healthy and the Lakers are fully healthy. Give them 82 games. The Rockets might win more games in a regular season, but in a playoff matchup, they're inexperienced. I'm more worried about the Lakers. So
Yeah,
I'll say
I
the
kind of
Lakers.
see. I like you brought up the Rockets there because they remind me a ton of what the Thunder were last season. That's the same
Right.
vibes I get from that.
I would say like a level lower in
A
terms
level
of
lower,
how
but
good they are. But
like they can
yeah,
make the second round,
same
face
concept.
a like a 4, 5, 6 seed, and get bounced just because that 4, 5, 6 has had prior playoff experience there and know what it's like to play there. Whereas the Rockets, this is going to be the first time they've made the playoffs in however long.
Right, exactly. You rarely see teams that just like are young and they finally make it to the playoffs, and you rarely see them really make a run.
Yeah,
Um, which brings my other team I'd be worried about would be the Warriors. Because that's another team that they could just Draymond and Steph can turn it up in the playoffs. We got playoff Jimmy. There's a reason
yeah,
he's got that nickname. Once again, another team I'm confident we would beat. But they are someone I'd rather not face because these are
yeah,
teams that have the playoff. And they're a team that it's almost like they got nothing to lose in a sense because they're like, this is, Steph's making one of his last big runs. Jimmy Butler just like they were not out of it, but they were out of contention, let's say. They weren't out of the playoff race, but they were not going to win before that trade. They were not a real threat. Right now,
no,
they're like the third favorite in the West or something to come out, which is crazy. And they're just a team that kind of has nothing to lose and in terms, because if they get knocked out round one or two, people aren't going to go off on them versus if the Thunder get knocked out round one or two.
yeah.
So they just defensively sound in the playoffs between Butler and Draymond. I wouldn't want to face them. Um, the third team would be the Nuggets. I mean, the Nuggets, they've just been there. So
They've
I mean,
been there and won it.
it's kind of a common theme with the three teams is like they've been there, either, or at least some of the players, and the Nuggets, it gives you that type of confidence, right? Like the Celtics in the East, like, even though they're two, like I'm sure they are very confident they are the best team in the East for that. I don't know how you feel about that, but like I think in their minds and me, and so if I'm in the East, I'm worried about the Celtics in a playoff series more than the Cavs. And it's just they're different, they have that success to them. They've done it. They just did it last year. They got most of the same players. So yeah, the Nuggets, they're another one of those teams where they've done it, they won it, they've gotten close to winning other times, and I would not want to face them. But I mean, we're gonna face one of those three teams almost for sure at some point. But yeah,
Yeah,
even though
I
those are
get
the
you.
ones I'm
Yeah,
the most worried about, I, I'm
matchup
not
wise,
that worried.
I think we match up extremely well against any team in the league. I think
Yeah,
it's like this is, and it was mentioned by one of our regulars here, Austin Roberts. He mentioned it that this is possibly the best team the Thunder have ever put together.
the best team the Thunder have ever put together. So the other team would be what, like 20, was it
2015,
20 when we had KD, Westbrook. Wait, what year did Harden leave? Was that 15
that
or?
was after the finals in 12.
Oh, I'm tripping.
I was thinking 15 of when they
That's a
made the
whole
Western
different
Conference
team.
Finals and should have made it.
Yeah, who
And
so who am I forgetting? Who am I forgetting on that team? We got Ibaka. We
on
got
the 2012 team,
no, not 20.
2015,
Um, who's on 2015? Westbrook, KD. Who was our other?
Westbrook,
Oh, was that
KD, um, Steven Adams.
one of my favorite players of all time, Steven
Love Big
Adams.
Huey. I want to say we had Roberson then.
Yeah, no, I'm
I
taking
don't
this
remember.
team.
Yeah.
I'm taking this
I think the
squad.
big thing is it's the bench is what makes us the best team the Thunder have ever had.
Well, yeah, that's what when you look at that series, the 2016 series, Westbrook and KD went cold towards the end of the
Yep.
series, and that was it. I mean, like that's kind of the nail in the coffin. And they were playing out of character, in my opinion. Like KD was taking some, especially the game seven, I was losing my mind. KD was taking
Game
some wild
seven, I don't.
shots.
The fact that we blew a 3-1 series lead right there in the Western Conference Finals. And then, it came back and bit the Warriors as they blew a 3-1 series lead in in the finals right there. But, like, we should have never
We were
given up
as
3 games in a
good.
row.
We were as good as they would play. If they're out of sorts, it's like we're cooked. The thing with our squad right now, I mean, yes, if Shea is out, right, it's gonna
It
be hard to
changes a
win.
lot.
But Shea's very very healthy player. He is one of the most consistent. I think he's the most consistent player in the NBA. So our superstar, the one guy who like we kind of need for this all to function, I mean, I'm not saying to be a good team, but to be a championship team, he is extremely healthy and extremely consistent. Now, the other guys, it could be a series where J Dub steps up. It could be a series where, or not even series, just different games where Aaron Wiggins puts up 20. A series
Yep.
where a game where Isaiah Joe hits five threes. We have so many different guys that can on any, and that's what happens in our game to game situation. We have Shea put up his 30. He'll have his games of 50, 40, but on usually he'll put up his 30 and someone stepped up. J-Dub had a big game, or it was Aaron Wiggins that had a big game, or it was Dort that had a big, or it was just a nice combination of 30, 20, 15, 18, and then, some smaller numbers. So we have so many different guys to rely on. And one, so that's just great on its own. But two, that's also so much less pressure for everyone because everyone knows, like everyone knows it's not just fully on them to just have a crazy game. It's not
Yep.
like Katie and Westbrook, like, okay, we got to combine for 60 or we're probably going to lose this game, at least 60 and in those playoff games. We just have a complete squad. And
It's
it's
a different
crazy because
feel.
when I'm thinking back to that team, the 2016 team, that was the saddest I've ever been as an NBA fan. Was just that series. I was
I
devastated.
think the 2015
Um,
2016 just season and off season was like the worst I've ever felt.
Uh, yeah, I was devastated. I mean, a lot of people know me from like my reactions from the off season, but I didn't do any reactions for the actual like series. I was just at home
Yep,
devastated.
you were done.
I
You
was
were
so sad. Sad is not even the right word. But yeah, just because we went to just because we were in the conference finals and on pace to win the title, I think we would have beat the Cavs. I was expecting a better team when I started remembering. I'm like, we are a way better team right now.
yes.
I mean, the level of competition has just gone up in the NBA also. That's another thing. But we are a way better team now. I know it's a long answer to that guy's question, but yes, I do think this is our
Yeah.
best team ever.
I just want to go in and talking about like three teams that I don't want to say fear, but would be on the caution of. I don't really like have any caution about the Lakers. I know you brought up Luca. When you look back at that series though, Dort locked him down. Like that was the
Yeah, he
worst
had a bad
version
series.
of Luca people have seen in a while when Dort was guarding him. And Luca even admitted it, like, hey, the only reason I won was because, my other guys were making their threes. If we didn't shoot lights out the if they didn't shoot lights out the gym, the Thunder would have won that series. Easily.
Yeah, PJ
Easily. If PJ
Washington
yeah,
just turning into some type of franchise player for a few
I don't get it.
games.
I don't get what's up with him in Oklahoma City, what's going on, but he always has a career game when he plays against the Thunder. But because of that, I don't really fear or have any caution with the Lakers. They don't have a center. They have, Vanderbilt who's 6'10. Hartenstein or Chet. I'd even like match up Jay Will against them and I'd be like, they'd feast. They do just fine in the paint against them. LeBron, yes, playoff LeBron is completely different. I have faith in J Dub guarding him though. With his length and athleticism, I think J Dub could guard LeBron very well. It's just I don't really have any caution with them. You mentioned the Nuggets, yes, caution, of course. All right, we went 2-2 against them in the regular season. They've been there, done it. They won a championship. Jokic has a great supporting cast with Aaron Gordon, Christian Brown, Jamal Murray, Michael Porter Jr., Russell Westbrook coming off the bench. Great supporting cast with them. That's why I have caution with that team. Still think we win in a 7-game series. Think it goes to 6 games. Still think we win. But that'd be my number one team caution. Golden State Warriors, the pairing of just Jimmy Butler and Steph is an, like offensive nightmare. People like, even with our defense, it'll be hard to guard them because Steph will give you 30. He's still going to put up 15 threes and make like 8 of them. Jimmy Butler, especially in the playoffs, like you mentioned with playoff Jimmy, completely different player. Other than that, though, it's hard to kind of find that third team. I would probably say Timberwolves. I think they're the team that matches up best with OKC when you look at what they have and kind of the pace that they play with Anthony Edwards. I think that'd be the best team that kind of matches up against them. And it is a little bit scary to think about that could be a first round matchup for the Thunder.
Yeah, I don't mind them round two or three. I mean, yeah, they match up. They don't match up perfectly for us, but it's round two, three. You're gonna play someone like that.
Yeah.
For round one, that'd be outrageous if we have to play them. Because it's like it's not about winning. I mean, yeah, we could lose, but it's not just about that. It's just about we don't want to give up games. The
Yeah.
Celtics are probably gonna. I don't even know who's gonna be the eighth seed, but it's gonna be 4-0. I mean, not the Celtics. Well, Celtics are two, so whoever the seventh seed is, they're probably gonna go 4-0, 4-1 maybe.
Like it might be the Hawks that is the seventh seed right there. And no offense to Trey Young, who, is kind of a legend in Oklahoma with what he did at OU, but he's like he can't do it against the Celtics. He can't. He'll give you 30 against the Celtics. Yes, that's cool. What's his supporting cast going to do? What's Clint Capella going to do in the year 2025? Not much really.
I think what would be so interesting is if the Suns somehow just sneak into the eighth seed and we just face because I mean I wouldn't be worried, but it would be very the whole KD thing,
It'd
and
be a
it's
good
also like
series.
a team of like Booker and Beal and like a team where in the regular season they just have no synthesis or synergy at all.
Yeah.
They could be like, oh, let's just turn it on. Like, let's actually play defense for one series, you know?
Yeah.
Like, bro, I had someone comment on a video saying that 'cause I kind of bashed on KD's effect on the Suns, and he was like, well, Kevin Durant's top 10 in defensive rating this year. I was just like, no, that's just not true. This is his worst defensive rating of his career, and he's probably not even top 80 in defensive
Yeah.
rating.
Kevin Durant can
But
be a
yeah,
good defender when
he
he
can
wants to
be.
be, but it's when does he want to actually play hard defense? And it's rarely ever.
That's the problem with those teams that just try to get superstars together is like they, you have like, oh, season's not going too great. Yeah, let me just I just think KD's just trying to pile up points right now and just get
Yeah.
higher on the all-time scoring. Right now, the best teams in the league are teams that have been, you got the Nuggets, you got the Cavs, you got the Celtics, you got the Thunder. Those are the real best teams in the league. And even if you go deeper, the Rockets, the great, these are teams like, yeah, they might have some pieces that were added, but they were like built from, from the ground up. And that's the way the NBA is going. So these teams that were just a bunch of superstars are plopped together, it's not going to work
Yeah.
anymore.
100%. Let's just, quick fire answer some of these questions that we've had here that we've overlooked a little bit. Just going and like nothing wrong with it. We went off and talked about the Thunder for a very long time here. Don't want to keep you longer than what we talked about. But Goofy Sports Dude asks, do you think the Thunder should trade Kendrick and Usman Jang when they can draft rookies from this year's draft? And I know you said you love Kenrich. Interesting. Like I'm interested in what you think about Usman Jang because I'm kind of back on the Jang gang train, kind of back on that a little bit after his recent play that I've seen from him. But I'm interested in where you kind of stand at with him.
Yeah, if you want to go another 20 or so, we could, by the way, if you want to, because I know we didn't
Yeah,
cover some stuff, but up to you.
we can do that. We
Um,
we can do that. It's fine.
Usman Day, I mean, these guys are so interesting because we have a good problem. We have so much young talent, but we can't develop everyone because we're drafting new play. We have crazy draft picks. Um, I like him in specific. He's not someone I would want to give a ton of minutes in a playoff series, and
Yeah.
he's not someone I trust right now. I think he has the potential to be really good, but the problem is we have to decide. We have to pick and choose because really what Presti needs to do is package some of these guys that the ones that we don't pick from that pick and choosing into a guy like a Caruso, someone that like it has to be like a sniper moves, and that's all he will do. He will do it or he won't make a trade at all. So he's one of those guys. I mean, I think he has more potential than a Kenrich Williams. I think Kenrich Williams is will be more solidified as like a solid player, role player or kind of
Yeah.
he could
Well,
be a
he's a veteran.
starter.
He's been with the team for a little bit now.
Yeah, and he's not a guy that he's gonna I don't know exactly how to say his last name, but like he has more potential, obviously, but that's what we can afford to give up. We can because we can't develop too many raw talent players all at once because there's just not going to be space for them to play. There's not going to be space for them on the roster. So I would trade him if we can. I would package him. And someone like Kenrich, I wouldn't mind trading him too because if we're packaging up for there's only so many people we want to have on, like on, whether
Yeah.
it's a 12-man rotate, whatever it is, or we don't want to have like a 15-man rotation. So he's still solid, but he might just not have space if we get
Well,
someone that's like a level higher.
yeah. Well, I thought when the whole Cameron Johnson trade rumors were going around, and it wasn't rumors, there was actual
Mm.
kind of traction going on that, okay, it seems that there is a deal in place where that this could happen. I thought surely it was going to be a package of Kenrich and Usman Jang and one other player that was going to get Cameron Johnson over here just because it's not like I don't want to call them, and it's not what I'm saying at all. They're not bad players. They
No,
are
not at
good
all. Yeah.
players that can help out a lot of teams. The problem is you only have a certain amount of minutes to give to
Right.
13 great players on your roster that does
Right.
like have deserve those minutes with what they've shown the team so far. It's just impossible to do that. It is. So I am completely fine with packaging those two guys to go get someone else, or even sitting them off and be like, look, especially Kinrich, who is getting up there in age a little bit. I think his contract expires in a season or two. Probably not going to re-sign him because we have to focus on bringing back Dub, Chet, Shea with his super max that he has, bring back Dort. Like there's a bunch of players that the team has to worry about bringing back and making sure that they have for the long term. Kenrich Williams just might cost too much money, which is a weird thing to say because he might
Yeah.
only demand 10 to 11 mil a year. Still, that 10 to 11 mil might have to be 4 million for us, and that's where I could kind of see, okay, package him, send him off, and get more draft picks, and then use the picks this season to kind of get someone in the draft. Weather and like I've been keeping up. There's a the center from Duke, not Cooper Flag. I can't remember his name, and it's hard to pronounce as well. He's great, 7'2". He's a great passer and great defender. Would fit well with what OKC is trying to do here. Young guy, that's very affordable to kind of get right there. And so that's what I kind of see happening if the team does decide to trade them. I don't think they do. I think the realistic option this offseason is they package the picks this season. If they have a roster spot open, they keep one pick that they have here in the first round. They package all the others to replenish draft picks later on.
Yeah, it's definitely possible that they go that route. Yeah, I think it depends on what the market, like what they can. I'm sure they'll test it. Like I love Cameron Johnson. I would
Yeah.
like him. He's a filthy shooter. He's just that guy's a bucket, and I would love him. Someone like him, and I'm sure Presti has those guys in mind already. That like these are guys that would fit. These are guys that would improve our squad. But then it's contract situations because you can't pay everyone. We have our people. We want to lock down Dort. I would like to keep Cason Wallace. I would like to. Aaron Wiggins is an interesting one because like I'm actually more open to. I love him. I don't want to move him, but like
Yeah.
if the perfect opportunity came,
If the
I wouldn't lose my
perfect
mind
player
if we
right
lost
there
him.
opened up and you're like, okay, comparing Aaron Wiggins to a certain player right here, you got to look at him and be like, who is the better player? Who is the better fit for this team? And there are players that you can trade Aaron Wiggins for that you're like, okay, this is a better fit. Whether this, this guy's a starter for us or coming off the bench, he just truly is a better fit for the team. And I love Wiggins, like you said as well. Don't want to move him, but there are players out there that you could very well move him for to go after and get. I mean, he saved basketball. It's kind of hard to give up a guy like that.
The big thing is how the season ends, which I'm not a fan of some because this is like where it might get a little political for the teams. Because like, let's say we get knocked out in the first round by the Timberwolves, right? Let's just say we have a
Yep.
rough series, or let's say someone is hurt. Let's say Holmgren's hurt. But okay, God forbid Shea's hurt. It's understandable why we lost to the masses. But like just a Holmgren or Hardenstein injury wouldn't be enough. It'd be like, wow, Thunder got exposed. If that puts pressure on the team to make a move, to make it improve, like to which I don't like because everything is good, and that might just be a fluke thing if we lose in the first or second round. Not a fluke, but like stuff happens. But that's where I could see them making a more dramatic play is if we get knocked out round one or two. But if we go to the conference finals or finals, I don't. I think we're gonna be because everyone's still improving year to year, like dramatically. Like this is a young. Usually, when the stage we're at right now is usually like our team. Usually, guys are at least like 4 years older on average. Everyone. So it's like okay, every year they're starting to get older. It's like they're at their prime already on
Yeah.
prime. But we have a team that is probably the best team in OKC history. In my opinion, is the best team in the league, and they're all getting better every year. Most of
They're
them.
not
I know
even in
some of
their
them are a
prime.
little bit older.
It's crazy to think. Shea is not in his prime yet. He still
Right.
has 2 to 3 years before he reaches his prime, and he's already an MVP level player.
So I think it's like you're always thinking what trade to make, and but like it might be, the uncool thing to do, but like just lock down the guys that are solid. Everyone understands
Yes.
locking down Shea, but lock down Dort, lock down Cason Wallace.
Well,
I love.
those Wiggins and Joe contracts were amazing this
Mhm. Oh,
offseason.
I love those. The second I saw those, I was like, yes. I was like, I'm glad. And other people realized it was good too. But like, I was like, some people might not like give it credit, but like these are such smart contracts.
Yeah.
I
And they
personally,
decrease in value as well. They're front
yeah,
loaded. It's the same thing with the Hartenstein and the Caruso extension. They're all front loaded. So as you go throughout the years, it's set up for okay, here's the Dub and Chet rookie extension deals right here. Okay, boom. Then it set them and it's like, oh, now they magically have space open to extend Shai to whatever amount of money that he could offer. To where, okay, if he wants the max, you can extend him to that. I don't think he's going to ask for the max now after he fired his agent and he's going to represent himself. So now he doesn't have to worry about the 5 to 10% of his contract going to his agent. Now it's like, okay, I can take the less amount of money and make the same amount that I would if I had an agent right there. I hope that's what he does. I think that's what he is going to do. I think that's what the agent being fired is the signal of. But the team really is set up perfectly with what Presti did for these contracts is like, okay, like front loading them where they're going to decrease in value to where people think is like, how are you going to pay all these players? It has to be like, surely it's all evened out throughout the years when it's
right.
not. Hartenstein's last year, if we pick up the team option, I think is 26 million a year, whereas this year he's making 31. Like that's 6 million in
Right.
cap space right there, 5 million, something like that, that you can now play around with, that you have open and available.
And the Thunder is just, obviously they're so smart with everything they're doing. And like, so I'm a Giants fan too. And, I'm sure most people watching their teams, when they see their team make a move, they're waiting to see if it was right or wrong. And, rightfully so, because it's like a lot of teams are making dumb moves. The Thunder is a unique experience because if Presti does something, it's going to be hard for me to really disagree.
Yeah,
It's like I just trust him. I'm like, he knows what he's doing. If he drafts someone, Topic, I like the Topic thing because I'm like, man, if this guy is 12 for the torn ACL, he's gonna be nasty when he comes back. And so I kind of was happy with that. But even some things when we traded Westbrook for Chris Paul, I didn't like that. I was like, yeah, I understand moving on from Westbrook, but what long term is there going to be with Chris Paul? But Chris Paul ended up, I think he might have helped Shea a bit. I don't know. I mean, Shea
like
actually
he
said he
might
didn't
be the
really
reason Shea
learn his
became the player
leadership
he
from
is now.
CP3, but yeah, he could have played a part. It's hard to know for sure, but now I'm like something that I completely disagreed with. Now I'm like, okay, now I'm starting to see it. And
Yeah,
so whatever the Thunder decide to do, whether it's making the big splash of putting a few of these picks together, trying to trade up and trying to move up the draft and snag an Ace Bailey, or I don't think it's gonna happen, but or get a big star. If they do it, I trust them, but I think they're gonna go the less cool or less splashy route, and like you said, either make sure they have more draft picks down the line, maybe make some smaller level moves, get another Caruso level player to just deepen the rotation, or make an improvement somewhere. Make that
yeah,
Aaron Wiggins, wherever Aaron Wiggins is in the rotation, make that sixth or whatever player a little bit better, or another improvement where improving our eighth guy a little bit better. I think that's what we're gonna do, and people aren't gonna lose their minds like, oh, that's so cool, Prestige is amazing. But those are the things, those are the little detailed moves that really make a difference.
yeah. We have one more, and then we'll call it good here. Matthew, another one of our regulars, he asked an interesting question. I'm just going to preface this with the fact that we do have a great developmental system with the Blue, the fact that they won the G League championship last season. A lot of guys have developed and are currently developing down there. Dylan Jones is constantly getting reps with them. I would remember I went and saw a Blue game back in January, and I was very impressed seeing Dylan Jones in person. Even Usman Jang, he didn't have a great game the day I went and saw him, but the Blue has really made him more confident when he does play in the NBA because he's been asked to be that number one scoring option at times. So he is more confident when he plays. Defensively, he's also gotten better. But now with Brandon Carlson being on a two-way contract, someone asked, do you think the team should move Kenny or Oos and open up a spot for Brandon Carlson?
For the sole purpose of that, no, I don't think so. I like Carlson, but I don't think it has to be a better reason. Like I said, if we're
Yeah,
packaging them for and if we're, we get an improvement and that opens the spot up for him, kind of a two birds, one stone, cool. I think that makes more sense. But just for that, I don't
I
think
don't like
so.
it
I
either.
wouldn't do that.
I like. I think he's been impressive when he does play. He provided a great spark. In one of the games I remember that they played, he hit two threes in the first quarter and had a block there. And it was like, okay, this guy can't play. Maybe the Thunder, like, how did the Thunder get another one of these unicorns right here? And Carlson, and he showed potential with the Raptors G League as well. He's always had that potential. I just don't see the point of trading someone away just to sign him to a standard NBA deal. Like I don't see it. And someone also said like I'd rather move Jones for Carlson. Even then, I like Dylan Jones.
I like him too.
Seeing him in person was definitely like opened my eyes on him. Like okay, I can kind of see what Presti is seeing with this kid now. He is, and I'm not calling him overweight. He is a very large person. He's very muscular. He's very strong. I do think he needs to lose like 10 pounds of muscle to play as a point guard in the NBA because he just is slower. I've seen it in NBA games where he tries to go for a, chase down block here or running the fast break, trying to find a lane to get a pass. He's just not fast enough at the NBA level yet. And I just think he, like some way needs to find a way. Like, okay, I'd like him to keep the strength here, but also just get a little bit lighter, lose 5 to 10 pounds here. And it's like the opposite problem we see of Chet. We want Chet to gain 10 pounds. We
Yeah.
want him to. And I saw him in person over the summer when I went to one of his basketball camps that he hosted to cover and everything. He definitely gained weight. I could tell. He was like, okay. He definitely gained some weight. He definitely got stronger. Not enough though. Like in my mind, I was just like, it's not enough. I want to see another 5 to 10 pounds, and it's not even a 5 to 10 pounds of muscle. Just add on 5 to 10 pounds of weight somehow, some way. Not saying it has to be fat. I'm not saying it has to be muscle. A healthy mixture of 50-50 be nice as well there. It's just one of those things where Dylan Jones, I really like him. His 3-point shot has gotten a lot better. His passing has gotten a lot better with this team as well. He just needs to shed some weight. And like I said, not calling him overweight, just saying he's very strong and he has a ton of muscle to him. He's 6'4", 235 pounds. Let's get to 6'4", 225, 220 as a point guard in the NBA. I think he could definitely work there.
Yeah, it all depends on, the play style because you got some point guards like, Eric Bledsoe back in the
Yep.
day. Even Drew Holiday is pretty big, I think. Uh, it depends on the style you're playing. And I think that this is where I trust the Thunder development to guide him. Like they're gonna analyze it, they're gonna see his play style, they're gonna see what works best. And if they tell him, hey, you got to drop that 5 pounds of muscle or however much, the Thunder, I'm sure he's gonna buy in. And if a player doesn't, they're not gonna last with the team,
Yeah,
and
they'll
that's
be
good.
traded.
That's good. That's good that we have that flexibility where it's like, hey, you can buy in and so it's not like we're, at the mercy of, okay, this guy's so talented, we have to play him, we have to keep him, but he's not really listening, that's not the
It's
case
not
with the
like a
Thunder.
Zion situation going on.
Yeah, it's like you hope Zion listens, but if he doesn't, what are you going to do? You're going to get rid
Yeah,
of
he's your
him? Like
best player. Like you can't do anything.
which is why the way the way the Thunder are built is so great. I mean, I would love to see Chet like because you just think of Giannis, you think, and I know they're different play styles, but like when Giannis bulked up, he just turned into a different human. The thing with Chet is, it's harder to shoot with more muscle, and you don't know if Chet. You hope he carries over that 3-point shot because if he just gets a little bit of that dominance that the muscle gives you while keeping the shot. He's going to be sturdier on defense. He's probably going to be healthier. He's
Yep.
having more muscle. That's one of the ways Steph Curry's fixed his ankle issues. Is he got more muscle. He became a more sturdy player, and that's an important thing. We need Chet healthy. That's another thing where, like I said, I'm letting Presti handle it. I'm
I'll
sure
let
they
Presti,
are.
I'll let the team staff handle it. Like
They'll
they
figure it
clearly
out.
know more than me.
Some people take longer to build muscle, right? So
Yeah.
it's some people. So I doubt it's an effort thing from Chet. Like he's not putting it
No.
in, you
And
know?
like I said, like seeing him over the summer, I could tell from that Dallas Mavericks playoff series to then, and it was a month and a half, he put on like 10 pounds of muscle. It was very clear. It's just, I still think he needs one more off season to gain, like I mentioned, 5 to 10 more pounds, half of it muscle, half of it just general weight. I think he will look a little bit more fuller. I could see it in the face as well. He looked like he definitely put on some weight there. Like it's just one of those things where, you also mentioned it. Some people just take a little bit longer to gain weight. He's constantly moving. Like if you've seen him, he is always hooping. After the camp ended, he immediately asked people to clear out so he could get in practice reps for an hour. He's just naturally going to constantly be losing weight because of how much time he spends in the gym playing basketball and running. So it's
Right.
just going to be harder for him to gain that much weight in a short period of time.
Well, Chet's one of those guys. We talked about the team not being in their prime, and Chet's one of those guys that's not even close to being in
No,
his prime.
he's
If
6 years
Chet
away from it.
takes if Chet takes like a leap, like a solid, and not like it's not like an unpredictable leap. If he just takes like kind of the what we're expecting, I mean, we're already kind of a super team, but then it's a real super team. If Chet
Then
turns
it,
into
then it
if
could
Chet
become a dynasty.
then it's a serious dynasty. And if Chet's an all-star, J-Dub's an all-star, Shai's an all-star, everyone's getting better. Oh, it's going to be absolutely terrifying
Yeah, it's gonna be terrifying for the league to see. But
for
I
the
don't want to
league.
keep
Yeah,
you
not
here
for us.
for. Yeah, I don't
It'll
want
be
to keep
fun
you
for us.
here. Any much like terribly longer here. Already had you here for a while now, 20 minutes longer than what we talked about there. But everyone, Lost and Unbound, once again, thank you for coming on, doing this. All right, had a great time talking with you. I messaged you as well, and everyone kind of knows like you're the OG Thunder guy. You're the original, all right? You like started it all. You're the reason a bunch of these channels are here and doing this now, covering the team or, kind of starting as well. And so, just thank you for that. Thank you for coming on. Anything that you want to tell everyone real quick before we hop off here?
No, I had a blast. Thanks for having me on, Bryson. It's really cool to see the Thunder community develop. When I was just starting out talking about the Thunder, there was not a lot of Thunder fans out there. People did not really care for the Thunder. So it's really cool to see the community blossom, and there's really a lot of people that love the Thunder, watch them, know about them on a detailed
Yeah,
level. So yeah, no, it's just great to see. I think that community is just going to grow. But no, it's been a blast. I appreciate you having me on here. I had a great time.
of course. Thank you. Thank you for this. Anyways, everyone, go give them following on social media platforms. Of course, if you aren't subscribed to this channel already, why not? You need to do that. Um, I got content I got to make for you guys now as well. Game's about to come on. So we'll get off here. Everyone, please take care of yourself. Little, like I always mention when we do these streams, a little mental health check in. Mental health, a serious issue for me here. Sorry for just throwing this on you here, man, as well.
Oh, yeah.
But if you guys ever need to reach out to someone, talk, feeling down or anything, there's a Discord channel. Always reach out to me there. Twitter, you can always reach out to me there. Instagram, social media, always here as well. Just reach out to me. You're never alone in this. All right. Always here for you guys. Care about you guys, your family. Love each and every single one of you guys. And we'll see you guys in the next stream.